Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope you're having a blessed day wherever in the world you are. I hope you're doing amazing, and I hope this podcast finds you blessed and having a great day. Welcome to Pep Talk, the podcast that gives you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. I'm a little bit excited, but also a little flustered to have this conversation with you today, where we take complex health and wellness conversations and we break them down into talking points and action steps that you can take to help improve your health and the quality of the health of your loved ones and your family. And a lot of physicians use our channel to get information to share with their patients and their community as well. And I'm your host, Dr. Eric Naputi. I've been a practicing physician now for over 20 years in the field of cause-based care, helping people get to the root cause of their problems through functional medicine and functional neurology. And not only have I helped millions of patients improve the quality of their health, but I've also trained thousands of doctors across the globe to do the same thing. And today I'm going to take you down a little bit of a journey that, it's unfortunate that I'm concerned about the censorship that's going to happen to this program today. The reality of it is what I'm going to share with you is all backed by research and data. There's no political science involved. It's real science. And it's a conversation that we should be having globally as a community and should be led by doctors and healthcare practitioners like myself. And it has a lot to do with, certain types of vaccines. Okay. Prior to COVID, there were problems with vaccines. And yes, now we've got government agencies saying, hey, we've got an issue with the COVID vaccines. We shouldn't have rushed them out like we did. The Japanese government has now retracted a lot of the COVID mandates on vaccines. They're saying that these are not safe. They're not effective 4 years after the fact. And now we're seeing, over 1.2 million children that have been injured that we know of by these forced vaccines that have never been proven safe or effective. But the political science agenda has pushed it forward. I want to talk to you about HPV today and the HPV vaccine. And I just need you to understand that decades ago, Merck introduced Vioxx, a very profitable non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. And despite knowing that it could cause numerous problems like heart attacks, after facing overwhelming lawsuits and ultimately withdrawing Vioxx, Merck quickly shifted to something called Gardasil. Gardasil is an HPV vaccine to market to really recover their losses. That's really what Merck did. And Gardasil proved to be an extremely dangerous treatment. Yet both Merck and the FDA ignored the alarming data and continued to promote it. And even as its results have really sent unprecedented injuries, there are certain countries in Africa that will not even allow these vaccines to be brought into them because of the testing that was done on villagers that did horrible side effects to them. Even can causing injuries like autoimmune issues, POTS, infertility, and now, death. Notably, many of these issues are associated, with children. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this. So prior to COVID-19, most people considered Gardasil to be the most dangerous and unjustifiable vaccine on the market. It was used for what? It was used to help with human papillomavirus, which according to the data, 80% of humans on the planet have some type of HPV, which yes, can be sexually transmitted, which yes, can be transmitted genetically from family members. But Merck put this out after Vioxx. And remember, they lost $5 billion in the Vioxx settlement. $5 billion they lost. And even though the CEO received a $37.8 million performance-based bonus for that, Merck then really moved its research and data and really a marketing and advertising blitz towards convincing every American that they needed to be scared of cervical cancer. And that girls, which by the way, girls are the only humans that have a cervix, boys don't have cervixes. Now they're telling boys that they should get the HPV human papilloma vaccine as well. It just makes no sense. I got to tell you, the fear campaign worked. Let me read some of these stats. With 25% of adolescent girls getting Gardasil in 2007 and 53% of them getting it in 2011, and by 2023, 79, almost 80% of females, adolescents, are getting these Gardasil injections, which, by the way, is leading to a $1.8 billion profit annually for the vaccine manufacturers. Listen to this. However, due to its cost, it required a hefty government subsidiary and $40 million from Health and Human Services in a grant to help offset the cost. And because of the hesitancy that people had about the risk of Gardasil, I mean, the annual cervical cancer in women was going down drastically from 1973 all the way down until 2007, whenever the vaccine was introduced. Just so you have an idea, this is a study that shows annual cervical cancer in women in the US, and it showed black women versus white women, and black women had a higher risk than Caucasian women did. In 1973, there were about let's see, 25, 24, 23 million cases per year in African American women, and around 12 million cases a year in Caucasian women. That went down from those numbers all the way down to 2007. That went down to under a million. Wow, a million for almost identical, 1 million for Caucasian women and about 1.2 million for African American women. So it's a significant drop before the vaccine was even introduced. The vaccine was introduced in 2007, when we already saw, a 10 to 15 fold reduction in cervical cancer. Now, here's what's crazy. Ever since Gardasil has been released, we've actually seen a steady increase in cervical cancers, and we've seen a massive increase in the side effects of this thing. So I just want you to understand that not everything is what it seems to be. And when we talk about, disease provocation, vaccines place the body under a lot of stress, and they divert the immune response and address the vaccine stimuli. When you get that shot in you, the vaccine stimuli is what the body responds to, and it takes away from the immune response. If the immune system is already attempting to contain another infection or deal with some problem, this can be quite problematic, which is why most vaccines that people take shouldn't be given to people who have immune compromised positions. But medicine tells you that if you're immune compromised, you should have these vaccines. It just doesn't make any sense. This phenomenon has been known about since 1893 and repeatedly demonstrated with many different types of infections, polio, typhus, and etc., and autoimmune issues. But in turn, we've really lost count of how many times we've seen, people get a flu after they get a flu shot. Wouldn't you agree with that? We see a lot of people get the flu after they get a flu shot, or they have a shingles outbreak after they get a shingles shot. Like HPV vaccine also does this. We're seeing a steady increase in HPV. From 1973, it was doing this. And then 2007, we started doing HPV vaccines. It leveled off, and now we're seeing an uptake in those HPVs again. And it's very concerning. And there's DNA contamination. Listen, there's data that shows that some of these injections can be making people sick. And what's been found is inside the Gardasil, it requires a DNA plasmid, very similar to a COVID shot, that frequently are filtered out. And what we find in those is that there are cells, a lot of times from other animals in there. There's SV40 virus inside of the vaccines, which is simian virus. It comes from monkeys. And simivirus 40 is a known carcinogen. They implant viruses into the injections because the virus can easily get into the ecosystem and the cells and the microbiome, which is the DNA of the human, and they use it as a transporting system. So, by the way, I think it's important to note that early polio vaccines were contaminated with SV40, which has been proven by the United States government to cause cancer. And despite, not warning people, the government still released it, and millions of people got cancer. Sadly, we're seeing that happen to this day with new types of vaccines that are out there. Gardasil has had numerous cases where young injected girls died suddenly from this. And it was discovered that the HPV plasmid DNA in their bodies was a contributing factor to that. So, leading to the government to switch from denying their presence to basically saying that those plasmids are safe. Now, safety and efficacy. If we look at the safety and efficacy, since all of these injections are viewed as safe and effective, regulators prioritize how strong an antibody response is. And the same concerns we had about the COVID shots being safe and effective when they talked about relative risk versus absolute risk, there was normally it's an absolute risk reduction. Well, in the COVID world, they only did it on a relative risk reduction, which was relative to your health, your age, your pre-existing conditions. It just didn't make any sense. And now, all these congressional hearings have happened, and people and doctors like myself have testified saying that this is not okay. And the gold standard used to be absolute risk reduction, not relative risk reduction. So look, at the end of the day, my job is to give you information based off of the empirical data. You decide what to do. But in the Gardasil case, it used a very powerful adjuvant that gave, listen to this, 49.6 of people that participated in the Merck trials had an adverse medical response, including Guillain-Barré syndrome, multiple sclerosis, and other autoimmune issues for people who got the Gardasil vaccine. 49.6%, almost 50% of the people who were in the study had a medical condition where they had to go see the doctor or go to the hospital. And unfortunately, some people died with this thing. I'm just trying to give you that. I mean, it's extraordinarily high rate of autoimmune cases that came out of the Gardasil vaccines. But your doctors don't know this. Most of them don't read the data. They just go by what they're told. And now we're seeing, many have concluded that because of the Gardasil issues, we're now seeing an increase in autoimmune problems like POTS. Well, we're now seeing that also with the COVID shot, and especially when Merck was found guilty of doctoring their trials, and they doctored their placebo data. So it's just wild. And then sadly, autoimmune isn't the only issue. For example, since this injection, the Gardasil injection, started to be given to women, we started seeing a markedly increase in fertility problems with those women. Again, if you want to get this shot, it's your decision. If you want your daughter to have it or your son, that's your decision. But I think you need to know your risk versus your benefit. I mean, this is what informed consent is supposed to be. Doctors legally are supposed to tell you the risk versus benefit. But how come they don't have to tell you that with vaccines? How come in 1986, when the 1986 congressional hearings happened, when the vaccine manufacturer said, look, we can't get anybody to insure our vaccines for safety, the United States federal government had to step in and insure vaccines. And the testimony was in front of Congress that vaccines are innately not safe. So, much attention has been brought to the explosion of unexplained sudden death that's happened after the COVID shots, but there was a significant, but also paid less attention to that happened in the Gardasil trials. Listen to this. Out of 21,450 individuals that received the vaccine, and 7 of them died during the study. 21,000 people, 7 people died. It's pretty interesting. I mean, if you look at risk versus benefit, I think it's important to look at, common responses to hormone changes. Gardasil shots can cause issues with, mood, instability, psychiatric issues, autoimmune problems. The dangers of being on antidepressants and et cetera is well known, but Gardasil is really a perfect example. It has neurological side effects that can lead to psychiatric issues, but it's being pushed on young women. Why? I mean, if we're already seeing a reduction in HPV, and then when Gardasil was put in, we saw an increase in symptoms and side effects, including death, and now we're seeing an increase in HPV, and some 80% of females out there are getting these injections. Does it make sense? And is it time to start asking questions to the regulators about the response due to how toxic Gardasil and other forced injections are on people? where's the CDC and the FDA coming out in this? And why are doctors, not up in arms about this? I mean, parents are. Some healthcare practitioners are that actually see this, and some legislators are as well when they have a personal problem happen with somebody in their family. They don't want to believe it until it happens to them. So, look, I'm not telling you that you should or shouldn't. What I'm saying is that you should get informed. And I'm saying that you should understand the risk versus benefit of all things that you do. And there are a lot of hidden health crises and things that are seemingly positioned to you to be safe and effective. And some of these injections, including Gardasil, are one of those. So, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back. I want you to rewatch this. I want you to share this information with your friends and family, because I think it's important that we ask quality questions, because the quality of your health is in direct proportion to the quality of the questions you ask yourself and you ask other people. And one of those questions needs to be is, how is that working out for you? And it's not. It's not. The data is showing that it's not. But listen, I want you to go check out our website, peptalk.world. That's peptalk.world. I want you to go like, subscribe, and share on our social media platforms. Go to our websites and check all that stuff out. Remember that knowledge is power, but wisdom is taking that knowledge and applying it to your life. And my job is to give you the map, the keys, and the car. Hopefully, you'll drive your body to health and wealth that you deserve. All right, until we meet again, I'm Dr. Eric Naputi. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Stay smart out there, and I'll see you next time. Be well.